Let's get into special effects now. I'm just going to jump into my real-time 3D editor. Doesn't look a whole lot different so far. Let me load that video in there. Again, there's my purple line, and it's a whole lot thicker than it used to be. And let's go ahead and program a move real quick. I will just shrink this guy down to nothing. You know, let me just have him come from off screen. So how about down here? And so as he goes full screen. But you know what? I want this to transition as I go. So as he goes, he moves over to this part of the screen. And then he comes back over this way. But we zoom in a little bit more to his face. And I think we'll have him transparency off. So I'll back up just a little bit here. Go to my transparency. Hey, look at that. That's different. What happened to the little grab the slider and the little buttons to reset it? Well, if I grab that, you can see I can adjust the transparency. What if I wanted to reset to default? I'll just right click on it and now it goes back to the default. So there you go. That's pretty much how they work. Just like that. So you know what? I didn't want the transparency to happen there. So I'll reset it. Then I'll go to the last frame. I want the transparency to happen there. So let's take a look at that. Just what we've got. Going back to the beginning. Okay, not bad. Now I did notice on this keyframe, maybe it's a little bit too big. And I'll push him off a little bit more. Let's just come back here and play that. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, if you can tell, but as this clip comes through that keyframe, instead of it bouncing off that keyframe like it used to, it actually kind of goes through a nice smooth motion path. And what we need to do here is slide everything this way so that as he goes full screen, that's where the transition in the background happens. So when we transparency out of him, we get to this second video underneath. Okay, so that's looking pretty good right there. But do you see what's happening there? As it goes through that middle keyframe, it's a nice smooth motion, whereas before, in Liquid Edition 5.5 and before, it would just bounce off that point in space and then slingshot this way. And now the motion paths are much smoother. And the reason for that is keyframe interpolation. Whoa, look at that. So what do we got going here? Let's see, there's that keyframe right there. Let me park on that keyframe. And then edge softness, transparency. Did you see that? When I mouse over this line, there's the transparency line. And there's the point where the transparency goes from 0 to 99, 100%. Wow, this is different. So let me go back here on this keyframe. Let's see, I'm looking at the yellow boxes. Those are all attributes that have been changed. So it's probably position that I'm dealing with here. So let me go to keyframe interpolation now. Wow. And now you can see things are completely different. If I trace this line, you can see the values change as I trace. If I click on that keyframe, holy cow, look at that. These are Bezier curve handles that I can adjust the curve of that motion. So look what I just did there. I really kind of messed it up. So let me try and fix that a little bit. And let's see what the move looks like now. Wow. So because of that curve being so wild and crazy, now look what happens. It goes off and whips around. A completely different look just by grabbing that one keyframe and adjusting the Bezier curve. Let's try adjusting it the other way, see what happens. It flies on. Ooh, okay, now it kind of slingshots off that keyframe, and that's because there's the line, the motion path, and then it kind of goes boing and bounces off that keyframe. So again, the length of these handles have something to do with the sharpness of the transition through the keyframe. You can see if I shorten that one, the smoothness goes away and it bounces off that keyframe like it used to. Whereas if I grab that handle and stretch it out and give it a nice smooth path, it's going to come into that point and then transition smoothly through it. So you can see there the power we have now with the Bezier curves. And that's the main change now to our CPU and GPU real-time effects editors. The keyframe interpolation is phenomenal. A few more notes here on our keyframe interpolation window. If I right-click, you can see I can reset scales. What does that mean? Well, if I come over here to the time scale, I can move it up and down. I can also hold down the control button on my keyboard and zoom out and in, or vice versa. Down here, the same thing. So I can really see close in to the points. This is my play line right here. I can grab it and drag it and see how things happen. I can also choose to hide certain parameters, like that's the horizontal and that's the vertical. Maybe I want to hide one of those. Let me hide the horizontal. So there we go. And now that makes it much easier to grab one parameter and work on it. So again, right-clicking on my window here, I can reset the scales so that they go back to the way they originally were. So a very powerful way to tweak your effects now, giving you more effects power than you ever had before. So one other thing I want to show you with relation to clip effects is come over here to the left of the screen with me to the library button. I'm going to look at the clip effects editors, and I am going to come down here to something new perhaps, like old film CPU. And let me just stretch this out a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. Old film CPU. Now what if I wanted to apply that to all the clips on my timeline, all 2 of them? Let's say we had 20 clips and we wanted everything to look like old film. Well, dragging and dropping that filter onto each one of these clips would be somewhat tedious, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't it be so much easier if I could just click, drag, and release it right there? No way, you've got to be kidding me. Holy cow, did he just do what I thought he did? That's right, I certainly did. There's the old film right there. Here comes my effect. And there is the birdies in the background right before they fly away with old film. So applying a filter or an effect to the name column of the particular track will apply that filter or effect to the entire track, all the clips on that track. Super duper powerful stuff. Now I should mention that not only can we apply a video filter or effect to the entire track, but let me come over here to my Sequoia footage. Navigate to a particular piece of video with nice audio. I believe this is it right here. Ah, yes. Lovely. You'd pay 20 bucks for that in a store. Control, click, drag, drop. There it is. And that is rendering because it's got that old film effect filter on there. Well, let me just drag it down one layer so it doesn't have to go into render. Check the render window. Okay, it catches up with itself. Ah, lovely. There's my video track down on the next level. Let me come over here to my library. I'm already looking at the audio filters. You can see there's a whole bunch more stuff here than there used to be. Just move through them real quick. Audio is the next section coming up real soon. Now while we're here, and just to finish off our little overview section of effects editors, let's go to our eyeball, our view changer, and go to our desktop. So now we can see in larger view, and I might right click here, make sure the PyCons are large. And now I'm going to go over to my library. We'll go to PyCon view, and I just want to point out some of the effects that are new here. Right now we're in the real-time clip effects. We've got a sphere selection GPU, that's new. If we come down a little bit further, we have shards, that's new. Swirl, that's new. Tiles. Now there's a whole bunch of things as well. Now the auto color correct is built in. You don't have to download it as a free software upgrade anymore. Black and white, chroma key. Gaussian blur is now CPU based, real time. We have a whole bunch of different keying editors. Green screen, blue screen, Luma keyer, RGB difference keyer, and now chroma key based on the YUV spectrum. I forgot to mention our old film and sepia real time, mosaic, posterize, solarize, invert, and of course our track matte editor, which we shall talk about more as we go. And then let's take a look at the real-time transition effects editors. The only thing new here is that Hollywood Effects is now part of this window in the effects editors, and it's no longer available in my plugin clip and transition effects. So there it is. It's now part of my transition effects editors down there, and part of my clip effects editors right there. And that pretty much wraps up an overview of what's new in all our special effects here in Liquid version 6.